All right. We are live, as the computer tells me we are live. Welcome, everybody, and happy Friday, by the way, to another installment of Get a Clue in 52 for Speakers. Hey, Sue, all the way from Melbourne, Australia. Like, it's just, I can't wait. We're getting closer and closer to you being stateside. We get to give a big hug. I haven't seen you in person in, I don't know, it's almost like I shudder to say like 6 years since we've seen each other in
Could
person.
be as long as that. Yeah,
Yeah,
could
yeah.
be.
So we're getting closer to like the hug heard around the world, right? And but today we've got some work to do. We want to read another tip, as we've been doing every year or every week this year, and as I've been doing every year for the past couple of years. So let me set that up. Right now we are in Get a Clue in 52 for Speakers with co-author Sue Mathieson, but this is my fourth in the series of Get a Clue in 52 books. And every one of them has 5 categories. We want to get around 10 tips in each category. The idea is 52 tips gives me the opportunity to come online and read a tip every week, to stay top of mind, to get email to the database, to post on social, to create some content, to repurpose content, and to put some good value into the world in case this helps you in any way, shape, or form. So there's a lot of reasons that we do this. I'm kind of addicted to it now. This is the 200 and something consecutive week that I've read one tip online, but I'm having a lot of fun this year because, Sue, you're with me, and your voice in this project lends like a lovely power, right, to what we're trying to
Mm.
do here. It's soft skills, but soft skills create strong leaders. Soft skills create strong teams. Soft skills create strong organizations. And one of the soft skills that is probably the most valuable soft skill is presentation skills or public speaking skills, those communication skills that we package from the front of the room, one to many versus one to one. So there's so many reasons that this is important work that we're doing, but it is Friday and it is casual and it's not overproduced, even though I have a light on me or what have you. And the 5 categories in this book that we're talking about, category number 1 was playing the integrity game. 10 tips that go over the 10-point model for the integrity game. And the idea there is we want foundation, structural integrity to build our speaking career onto, or to build our speaking skills onto, or to build our presentations. You can't build a mansion on quicksand. So the 10-point framework is life altering and it's applicable in many different areas. We went through those 10 tips. Then the second section of the book was to bring out your brand. Once you've got a structure in place, now you can decorate it, landscape it, interior design it, paint it, etc. So our brand is our promise to the marketplace, and we want to make those promises in sloganeered, sticky, lasting, memorable ways rather than jargon and off-putting ways. So we went through all these tips about the elements of brand and marketplace divided by promises to the marketplace, multiplied by competitive advantages, eliminating jargon and adding slogan. And we really want to understand, what are our core values? What are our distinct advantages? Why would somebody want to hire us as a speaker presenter versus anybody else that they could? And we want to pay attention to that, so that way, when we get to where we're at now, which we're going to get into it soon, I'm going to have you introduce the section that we're in now. But we're not just writing a speech. We're infusing the speech with our brand promises. We're infusing the speech with our competitive advantages. We're infusing the speech with sloganeered hooks, phrases, catchwords, keywords, instead of off-putting our audience with jargon and just giving a speech that's not tethered to, connected to our promises overall in our brand, right? So bringing out our brand was really, really important. And Sue, let me kick it over to you, and you could talk to us about, well, the section that we're in right now is section 3, but let me just preview. We've got 9 more tips, including today. Then we're going to get into section 4, which breaks down the process of actually constructing and outlining a speech. And then at the end of the year, we're going to get into 12 tips on practice building around your public speaking skills. If you want to build a career as a speaker, build a practice as a speaker, or build any other practice that you're using speaking to grow, we want to make sure that you're not just building your speaking skills, but you pay attention to the other 12 accountabilities that you need to pay attention to when you're growing a practice. But before we get into, that's all down the road. Sue, let me kick it over to you, because right now we started last week with section 3, which is what we're in right now. Be fearless. And why don't you go ahead and talk to us about the tip that we covered last week, which brings us to today's tip, which is number 22 overall. Go ahead, Sue.
Sure. Thank you. So we're in, as Jeff said, we're in section 3, be your fearless self. And actually, I'm just looking at the start. If you've got the book, there's this fabulous image of Jeff on stage in front of an audience. And tip 21 that we were doing last week, which was the first in this section, was it's not about you. And Jeff exemplifies that, where it's, as a speaker, it's not about us, it's all about the audience. And we talked a little bit about how we are saying what we are saying is in fact what we are really saying. And we were talking about the non-verbal language. So eye contact, movement, being able to use your space effectively, whether that's on stage or even in an online environment. Voice projection, expressions. And we went into some of those details in how to keep your audience engaged, and that it's not about us as a speaker, which leads us then into today's tip, 22 overall, second in this section, the real fear of public speaking. And following on from the previous tip, I open this up as we read for word by asking a question. So, Jeff, even if it is all about the audience, as we discussed in the previous tip, I still have an element of fear about whether they were going to like me. How are they going to respond? So what do I do with that fear?
All right. Sue, I love it when people like you want to overcome their fears and challenges. Let's get real about what you really need to be afraid of. Despite what social science tells us, I believe we are not more afraid of public speaking than death. I'm referring to the actual moments we are on stage with all eyeballs on us. That is not what we're afraid of. What we are really afraid of is preparing for that moment, afraid of the work and vulnerability it takes to prepare for public speaking. So many of us use, quote, fear of public speaking as the reason to avoid the work. So, right. So I believe that it isn't even the fear of public speaking that prevents us from preparing as much as simply not knowing and trusting a process of preparation, knowing how to prepare and trusting that process to raise our confidence and abilities while also removing our fears and doubts.
So why is preparation so important?
Well, let's face it, we are guaranteed to perform better at anything in life if we prepare well, rather than not preparing at all or poorly preparing. I'm sure that I'm sure that luck or the law of large numbers can offer us exceptions, but by and large, preparation is the mother of performance. Right? This is particularly true when it comes to public speaking. Since 1997, I've been teaching adults how to get past their fears of public speaking by the way, did you hear that? Since 1997? Oh man, that number used to, I'm sorry, I had to pause myself there. I'm going to say it again. Since 1997, I have been teaching adults how to get past their fears of public speaking by getting them focused on my proven 8-step process for preparing to speak with confidence. Over 2 decades of this experience has been in the college level classroom, but when I formed A Klu in 2007, I started working privately with entrepreneurs and business owners, top producing sales and life service professionals and corporate leaders, even scientists, with assignments on 4 continents across 13 countries. Today, literally thousands of people have gotten past their fear and improved their confidence for public speaking using my proven 8-step process of preparation. There are those who will say they are not afraid of speaking, that they love it and already do it as much or even more than I do. Great. To them, I say, do even more and get even better. What is the next level for you in public speaking? There is always a next level to prepare for. And then there's a Kluby snack here. Fully facing preparation fears can make stage fright disappear entirely. Right? That's going to come up in text in a second. Before we move on, Sue, acknowledge the real fear of public speaking and get ready to continue the work. Remember how much work you have already done on your integrity game and branding. Now is the time to get going. Fully facing preparation fears can make stage fright disappear entirely. All right, I got chills there. That's a pretty strong Kluby snack right there. But that's it. That's the word for word on tip 22. Let me kick it back over to you, Sue. Do you have any questions or comments? I've got some more to say about what we've talked about here, but go ahead. Get us going in discussion mode.
Certainly. And as I was reviewing the tip, getting in preparation for being online, one thing that came to mind was as we talk about this fear of doing the work, is how easy it is to get caught up in almost that shiny syndrome of, I just want the result. Give me the result. And there's this, I guess there's an emotional connection with that to a degree, where you've almost got to choose to go back into the logical part of the brain. I'm not sure, be interested in your comments, to go, okay, I know where I want to get, which is that emotional connection, but I know I've got to go through and do the work first. And it's that commitment to having some sort of structure to work through, to do the preparation, and being willing to get into the challenges of doing the work, being down and dirty and getting into the weeds of actually having to tease out, what do I need to do here? Allocating that space and that that time to get in and do the preparation, and that takes commitment. It takes a willingness to almost be bored, I suppose,
or a willingness to be vulnerable. Yeah, that's what we're really talking about here, right? People advance, they forward, they put cart before the horse, and they think, oh, all the eyes are on me. And I'm trying to make the point in the text here. I'm afraid of public speaking. I'm terrified of public speaking. I hate public speaking. No, you don't. And I would challenge anybody that wants to come on board. By the way, I've put up in the banner, if you want to come online right now and join us in this conversation. Are you afraid of public speaking? Are you really afraid of preparing for public speaking? Or like, oh, preparation is no problem, I'm fine with preparing, it's just speaking that I have a problem with? Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, right? Yeah. I believe we use the fear of public speaking to avoid what we're really afraid of, is the work of preparation, organizing thoughts, sitting down, putting pen to paper. And even worse, right? Most people are afraid of that. Why? Because they're not confident. They don't have structural integrity. They don't have a brand. Right. Yeah. So if you don't know who you are in this world, and if you don't know what your brand promises to the marketplace, I wouldn't want to prepare a speech either. Do you understand what I'm getting at? So what I want to go back to, is what you said at the very beginning of the tip, Sue, and I'm going to quote you now, right? At the very beginning of the tip, you say, well, even if it is all about the audience, as we discussed in the previous tip, I still have an element of fear about whether they're going to like me, how they're going to respond. What do I do with the fear? All right. So but I want to go all the way back to this word all. Guess what? It's not all about the audience. Okay. We talked about this, early on in the integrity game, I believe, like purpose and it's concurrently. Okay. So here's the thing. In the moment that we're speaking, in the moment that we are on stage, it is all about the audience, but not even then all, right? Here's what I mean. We're still the speaker. We're still delivering our brand promise to the marketplace. We're still building our career. We're still getting our message to the world. We're still selling our books. We're still sending people to the back of the room to sign up. We're still trying to get our project accepted or idea adopted, or we're trying to get advanced, raised, promoted, or hired, right? It's still, it's never not about us, right? But it's never all about us or all about the audience. What I want to make sure people understand is that, and I see a couple of eyeballs online. Hello to everybody out there. Let's get some comments. Join us online. The URL is there if you want to jump on into the studio and join this conversation. But the point that I want to make with you, Sue, is that we were talking about last week, it's not about you. Well, at this point, okay, because the idea is, guess what? You've already handled the about you part. If you've got 10 answers, if you got answers to your 10 integrity game questions, and that's about you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you've brought out your brand, your promise to the marketplace, your competitive advantages, you've done the work of replacing jargon with slogan. Now you've got ingredients to put into speeches. So that part is about you, your message, your differentiation, your promise, the pain you're going to get people out of, the pleasure you're going to get people into. That's when it starts to become about them. Okay. So the idea is, what we're setting up here is, when I'm speaking, I don't want to be worried about me.
Yeah.
When I'm speaking, I want to have already worried about me prior to speaking. Does that make sense? So, ladies and gentlemen out there, what we're setting up is why this section exists, is to get into the 8 steps to fearless public speaking. Okay. What I want to cut through is I want to tell you what you're really afraid of. What you're really afraid of is playing the integrity game and answering questions about your own life that you can then be held accountable to. What you're really afraid of is making promises to the marketplace, because what if I don't deliver? What you're really afraid of is preparing to speak. You're not afraid of speaking. Now, I'm happy for anybody to come on and argue with me. No, Jeff, I'm really afraid of speaking. Okay. Maybe 1 or 2 of you out there, but I'm arguing, I'm putting forth, and I want to be challenged on this. You're not afraid of public speaking. I'm here to tell you what you're really afraid of so that I can help you get past that fear, like I've helped thousands of people get past their fears. And so 8 steps to fearless public speaking start next week. So the third tip in this section, right? And by the way, we're in Be Fearless right now. This is what we the whole section is to eliminate fear. But before we get into the 8 steps, I don't want to eliminate the fear in the tip of the iceberg. I want to go down to the base of the iceberg, which is you're afraid of preparing because you don't know who you are, or you're not sure about who you are, or you're not sure about why you're speaking, or you don't know what your brand is, or you don't know what your purpose in this world is. You're not sure what your competitive advantages are, and all of those unknowns say, "Oh, I'm afraid of public speaking." Isn't it easy to say, "Oh, I'm terrified of public speaking. Oh, I hate public speaking." I'm here to call bullshit. Right? You're not afraid of public speaking.
Yeah.
You're afraid of getting so connected with yourself and developing confidence on your brand promise, whether you speak in public or not. You still need your personal brand. You still need your team brand, your company brand. You still need to let the world know what to expect from you. That's what you're afraid of, is letting the world know what to expect from you. So whether you're public speaking or blogging or writing emails or going to networking events or whatever form of putting yourself out or attending meetings in corporate and committees and volunteering here and there, you still need to have command. You need your structural integrity so that you're sturdy, solid, resilient, and upright, ready to reach your potential. And then you need to color that with your personal promises to the world, right? Now you're getting ready to write a speech. But that's what this is all about. I feel like I'm being a little bit repetitive now. Before I continue, Sue, do you have anything to comment on around that insight?
You might be feeling repetitive, but it's just worth repeating, because like when you opened up the conversation earlier, you were talking about how much when we do that earlier work, that infuses our work, and it makes it so much easier. If we've done all that integrity framework first, answered those questions, if we've looked at what our brand is, it gives us the freedom to be vulnerable, which is what we were talking about. And we can do that with confidence, and because we're standing on that foundation of really knowing who we are and what is it that's about us, it's different, that we can bring to our work. And doing the work really fearlessly, because we're confident of the differences and that we bring to our audience, and it's about, I guess, that willingness to own who we are as a person, what makes us special, but special not in an arrogant way, but special in an honoring way. I think of, we're bringing all of our experience, we're bringing our flavor, our personality, our quirkiness, our differences, whatever it might be.
My quirkiness. I'm the quirky one here. I'm the quirky one. Okay, that's my job. Well, what I want to say is, like, this is the analogy that came to mind, and I'm not trying to cut you off, Sue, but I just wanted to be succinct a little bit. Like, I cannot tie my shoes unless I prepare to tie my shoes. Right? How do I prepare? I buy shoes and I select the shoes I want to wear, and then I put them on my feet. That's the preparation. Now I'm ready to tie them. But here's what I'm setting up to say. Are you ready? When's the last time you tied your sneakers and then kept thinking about tying your sneakers as you went about your day? Like, never. Once you tie them, it's off your mind. It's done. Now your focus is on walking.
That's right.
So the idea is, once I've done the work that is about me, I'm not thinking about it anymore. I've already done the work that's about me. I've already tied my shoes. I've laced up. I've played the integrity game. And, shamelessly, right? Shamelessly, I'm plugging the integrity game again. But tell me if you can see my screen right now. Right here. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Right? You see the laces, and right, these are the 10 points on the integrity game model. So if I know what my purpose is and what my advantages are and what my potential is, and if I've set goals and I've selected strategies and I've reinforced my relationship to my word and how I set expectations for self and others, and I've gotten into action and clear on the actions I need to take, and I've learned what I needed to learn in order to execute the rest of it, and I've stacked up a list of accomplishments, which then becomes stories that we can sprinkle into our speeches, right? And I know who I'm serving and who wins when I win. I've done that work, right? I'm not going to be thinking about that anymore when I'm on stage. I have to be confident that all that work that I've already done is there. I'm not worried about what my hands are doing. I'm not worried about if I'm quirky. I'm not worried about, that's what we mean when we're talking about this tip from last week, which is it's not about you. Right? The very first tip is it's not about you. But it really is. It's not all about you. It's not all about the audience. It's about both of us at the same time. But I've already done the work on me so that when I'm on stage, I'm not worried about my promise or my hands or my hair. It's a sore subject for me, right? I'm not worried about any of that.
Yeah.
It's not about me anymore. I've prepared all of that. Okay? So that's why the real fear of public speaking is preparation. That's what I'm getting at. That's the argument we're making today, which sets us up for starting next week and the following 8 weeks are going to be the 8 steps to fearless public speaking. Now, seems to me like this is an appropriate time to offer up a little freebie for people. Even though we're going to cover in the book the 8 steps, and we're going to cover it in our dialogue format, the way we've treated the content, so we can shine a light on the mentor-mentee relationship and the coaching relationship and the full day immersion experience, right? Which was so valuable for us and many people that I've worked with around the world when we spend 1, 2, or 3 full days together. Even though we're going to break down those 8 steps, I want, maybe people don't want to get the whole book. Oh, can I just get those 8 steps? Do I have to get the whole book? Do I have to wait? Do I have to wait 8 weeks for you to drip this out on us? No. You don't. What we've decided to do is make it free. It's one of these, transparent exchanges. Let me see if, there it is. Here we go. Very free, like super free for you. We've created an ebook called 8 Steps to Fearless Public Speaking. And if you email us, you give us your email address, right? And then we'll send you 8 steps to fearless public speaking. So you could read ahead. You could read it all in 20 minutes. Well, it may take you longer than 20 minutes, but rather than waiting for the next 8 weeks for us to roll these out, 1 step at a time, tips 23 through 30 of our project here are my proven 8-step process. I've gotten thousands of learners past the fear of public speaking by focusing them on preparation and allowing them to just be yourself at the end of the jam. Like if you know that when you get up there to speak, you can just be yourself, would you be less fearful? And the analogy I always give, if somebody called me on my cell phone, Sue, and there's the pictures of my kids on there. Anyway, if you called me on my cell phone, I wouldn't be like, what am I going to say? What am I going to do with my hands? Am I wearing the right? I would just, hello? Oh, hey, what's going on? I would trust myself to engage in that conversation. And my 8 steps are going to make it the same for you when you're on stage. You're going to be able to be fearless about being yourself, knowing that you've already worked on yourself and also that you've got a really good speech prepared and that it's logical approach, right? A lot of the things that I do are emotional and all over the place, but this is a logical 8-step approach to preparing to speak in public. The 5th step, of course, is so important. It's going to get its own section 4, right? We're going to do that in 9 weeks from now. But I want everybody to be invited to send an email to info@getaklu.net and put in the subject line, be fearless. And then we'll reply back to you with a PDF of 8 steps to fearless public speaking. So that way, without having to get the whole Get a Clue in 52 book and deal with Amazon and shipping and all of that stuff, it'll be right there in your inbox and you can follow along. You can read ahead and maybe you'll come online with Sue and I and participate in the conversation and ask some questions and challenge any of my suggestions or steps, or say, hey, Jeff, how do I apply this to me? Or come get some live coaching from us right here. You're invited to hang out with us. As a matter of fact, you can join right now. tinyurl.com/cluetip22. Oh, yeah, that's right. Next week's URL is going to be cluetip23. Follow the pattern. All right, I'm going to stop talking now because my coffee's kicking in. Sue, what have you got for us at this point?
I totally concur with you and would love to have some other people join us here in the studio and work through, bring some of your own challenges and or ideas and what you might like some commentary on in terms of helping you tease out some of your answers to some of these questions. And it would be great. Would love to have some other people join us in the studio.
Well, speaking of joining us, I'm watching the eyeball tracker, like there's the Facebook icon and then there's the eyeball tracker. So, I just want to say hello to whoever's out there. You're anonymous. I don't know who you are. I can't wait to meet with you or interact with you. But in terms of if you're joining us now for the very first time, if this is the very first time that you're checking out a live stream of Get a Klu in 52 for Speakers with Sue, let me invite you to go back in time, because what I mean by that is we're in section 3 right now, but section 2 was bring out your brand, right? So the freebie that we were giving away there is we've got a free branding guide, and I just want to make sure that everybody has that. So if you go to tinyurl.com/TIGBOYB, that stands for The Integrity Game, Bring Out Your Brand. Then we'll send you through a little funnel with a free report that leads you to getting complimentary coaching at the end of it, private coaching. If you come on live here in the studio, it's going to be public, it's going to be live streamed, etc. So keep some things close to your chest. But if you want some private one-on-one with either myself or Sue or one of the coaches that we've trained, then go ahead and go through this funnel, get your free report, and if you found it valuable, click through all the way to where you can schedule and not apply for, but schedule complimentary coaching with myself, Sue, or one of the coaches that we've trained. We'll do our best to match it up depending on how much information you share with us and what would be the right coach for you. So that was last section's freebie. Of course, now that we are in section 3, which is Be Fearless, then of course the freebie that we want to offer you here is the ebook just focusing on these 8 steps. And to have 10 tips in the section, we put 2 tips up front. 1, last week, it's not about you. This week, the real fear of public speaking is preparing for that engagement. And starting next week, we're going to take you on an 8-step process that will get you fearless. And that's one of my promises. I promise you'll be fearless. I promise you'll be confident in your preparation. That doesn't mean you're going to be perfect when you speak. I can also promise you, Sue, this is the funny part. I promise you'll be fearless, and I promise you'll screw up. But I promise you'll be fearless about making mistakes. You'll be fearless about forgetting a word or having to repeat yourself or tripping over the tape on the stage or standing just to the right of where the spotlight is, or if you're rubbing against your microphone and that's creating noise, or if you get distracted by a heckler in the audience and then you lose track and then you start engaging with your audience. We'll get you fearless about all of it, because you're going to be prepared so well. You're going to be prepared so well that maybe you thought you were going to say 6. But when you get on your feet, you're going to be prepared to say half a dozen, or 5 + 1, or 7 - 1, or 10 - 4. I'm going to get you so comfortable being yourself on stage through the 8 steps of preparation that you will be fearless. I promise. I also promise, as fearless as you are, you're still going to a couple of times. Right? I can't think of a single talk I've ever done where I didn't make mistakes. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. You're beating yourself up. Oh, I should have done that. Oh, why did I do that? Oh, I know better. Oh, I forgot to do this, or oh, I skipped over that. And then people come up to you like, oh my God, Jeff, I loved your talk. Yeah. And so your self-talk is beating yourself up. This is it's not about you part.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the moment that you're on stage, it's not about you. It's about what value people get from your talk. But prior to getting on stage, it's about you quite a bit. Your integrity, your promises to the marketplace, your level of preparation, your sense of readiness for the engagement. Okay. And I don't know. What else you got, Sue? I'm going to start. I think I've said quite a bit.
Yeah. No, that's okay. And listening to as you're going through that and reiterating it, again, one thing that comes to mind for me is the more that we do that work of integrity game, working through what our brand promises are and the elements that we talked about in section 2, because when we're in that moment of being in front of an audience and we know we've done the preparation,
Yeah.
and we can be open to not getting it 100%, but we can also go in with an openness to what might I learn from my audience today? What might I find out because I'm open to doing that dance almost with my audience? What new awareness might I encounter? And so it opens up that opportunity for curiosity, for, yes, I've got a message, but it might land slightly differently in that moment. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
you learn something new. And I think that creativity and that that's where that vulnerability is so valuable, to be able to do that, and that's, I think, what the audience appreciates too, where you are showing up in your own authenticity because you can dance with them.
Well, yeah, that's, not to get too far astray, not to get too far off our own reservation here. We're talking about, speaking, right? But you and I
Yeah.
have made the comment that really only about 40% of the book is really only for speakers and speaking. 60% of the book is for anyone, really. And so that's expanding away from the epicenter of what we've promised here, Get a Klu in 52 for speakers, right? But let me take it a step further and go really far off the reservation. What we're really talking about, is anybody ready for this? What we're really talking about every single week is love.
Yeah.
That's what we're really talking about. And what I mean by that is the willingness to be vulnerable, so either ourselves or our audiences, our beloved, may grow. And I lean on M. Scott Peck, author of Road Less Traveled, for that definition. And to bring it back into today's tip, and by the way, I'm Jeff Klubeck, founder and author of The Integrity Game. Okay, right? But to bring it back to today's tip, the real fear of public speaking, right, is preparation. Because it's in the moments of preparation that we're perhaps more vulnerable than we are the moment that we're on stage. It's counterintuitive. Does that make sense? But we're talking about the willingness to be vulnerable, the willingness to make a promise, the willingness to declare our purpose, the willingness to prepare to get on the stage to fail, or the willingness to make mistakes, the willingness to be criticized, the willingness to discover something that we must learn, the willingness to, all of that is love, the willingness to be vulnerable. At the end of the day, I want to believe, Sue, that everything I do professionally is an outgrowth of my capacity for love, my willingness to be vulnerable, my willingness to be silly and tell dad jokes and stumble and fail and be imperfect, because I don't believe in perfection as a possibility. So that's what we're really talking about. The real fear of public speaking isn't speaking. The real fear is fear of love, fear of vulnerability, fear of growth, fear of, right? And it's all of that is confronted in preparation. So just to bring it full circle before I move us into last call, I want to just say it again. Most people will say they're afraid of public speaking to avoid the work and the vulnerability of preparing. And I'm here to tell you what you're really afraid of, so that I can make it easier to help you become fearless. Because when you get that voice, when you get that fearlessness, when you understand, I'm afraid. All right, well, can you do step 1? Yeah, I guess, but I'm afraid. All right, can you do step 2? Yeah, I guess, but you just focus on the steps and then just trust that you're prepared and you're going to do better, right? And then, come what may after that. Some of the, we got to you hear this all the time in other circles. You got to get comfortable with the discomfort. You got to get out of your comfort zone. There's the pain of regret or the pain of growth, growing pain, all of that stuff, right? My best speeches, I know it's debatable. I've had some pretty good speeches that were successful, right? But but the argument I want to put forward is that the very best, and even the ones that were successful, that launched my career and, opened up doors and generated clients and revenue and praise and, all of I still made mistakes. And when I watch those back, I'm like, ooh, 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 ooh. I still cringe. I still cringe. I could show you right now. I could play a speaker reel, a 90-second speaker reel that the marketing team is putting together. And the marketing team is choosing from all of the source content that I gave. Oh, what are the clips from Jeff's talks that we're going to put into this 90-second sizzle reel? And so now they're thinking, yeah, ooh, that's good. Ooh, this is good. Let me put that in. And then, it's Rakesh. Shout out, tip of the cap to Rakesh. They're like, Jeff, check this out. I've got an update on the sizzle reel video. And I'll watch it and I'll be like, ew. And I'm cringing. I'm like, there's got to be better stuff than that. There's got to be better stuff than that. Now, of course, it's going to take him time to go through everything and find the best nuggets. But he thought it was good. Yeah. He thought it was good enough to be in a 90-second little video that conference organizers and event planners and booking agents will look at in order to get a feel for my speaking flavor to see if they want a guy like me on their stage. So he's like, this is awesome. And I look back and I'm like, ugh. Like that that gap is what everybody needs to understand. And we need to get more and understand and anticipate that even something that we're self-critical over or unwilling to do, or the vulnerability we're afraid of, people are ready to praise what we would otherwise cringe at.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So thanks for letting me get all of that out. And thanks for the eyeballs that I see. If you're the same eyeballs that have been on the whole time, thank you for coming along on this ride for us. We schedule 45 minutes for these things. So we're about the time in the session where I generate last call, comments, questions, jokes, riddles, haikus, limericks, or expressions of gratitude. Last call for any comments or anything like that as we sprint towards the finish line for today's tip. I mean, today's tip was meant to be brief anyway, but it's heavy, right? Yeah. You're not afraid of speaking. You're afraid of preparing to speak. But really, this tip is all about getting us ready for the next 8 tips, which is the 8 steps to fearless public speaking. So having said all of that, Sue, you get the first crack at last call.
Just to say, what came to mind for me then is think about, you're talking about the scissor reel being created by the marketing team and that accumulation of all those experiences you've had. And for me, it just highlights by doing the work, and it just think about the positivity of it all. Think about all those opportunities that you might be missing out on because you're getting stuck with this mindset of, but I'm afraid of public speaking. Yeah, I think to let go of that and put yourself into, wow, what are the opportunities that I might have if I get past that? Allow yourself to resonate with some of that.
Well, that leads me to like a transition now into our good friend, Lisa Reed, who is the CEO of International Speakers Network and founder of Get Speaking Gigs Now. She's also proudly, I might add, the author of the foreword to Get a Klu 52 Speaker Edition. So Lisa Reed, shout out Lisa if you're out there, or anybody that knows Lisa, she's a superstar. She wrote the foreword for our book. And the reason I'm bringing her up is twofold. Number one of her classic tips, one of the things that she'll tell you, she posted about it recently, as a matter of fact, in her online communities, right, is have a talk in your back pocket. And it goes along with what you were saying. Like, oh, we're missing out on opportunities because we're afraid of all this work. Well, if we get past that and we get to a point where we've got to talk ready to go. Okay. It's in our back pocket. Now, anytime we could just say yes right away to all of this opportunity that's waiting out there. But so many people will avoid the opportunity to take the lead, get to the front of the room, lead a group, present some content, hold a room together with some content, advance their ideas, right? There's all these opportunities for you to advance your life, career, your objectives, your mission through public speaking. But because you don't have a talk in your back pocket, nothing to see here. You put your head in the sand when all of the opportunities to get the helium hand. I got helium in my hand. Right?
I love that.
Well, yeah. Well, that's a term that I've, picked up on this week for all of the volunteering that, families do in schools for their kids, and how it's a threat to marriages because spouses are like volunteering too much and like, hey, what about home? We need. Anyway, I digress. Get rid of the helium hand sometimes.
I like
When
the
you need
helium
to,
hand.
the helium hand, like, stop volunteering. There's not enough time in the day for everything you volunteer. I know you want to help. I know you want to make sure it's done right. I know that you don't want anybody else controlling and influencing your kid, but guess what? We got to let it go. Right. Anyway, I digress. When it comes to speaking, you want the helium hand. You want to be able to put your hand up right away without fear, without hesitation. Hey, I can do it. I'm ready. I'll go. Right? You've got talk in your back pocket. So starting next week, we'll do 8 steps, and we love to work with you on your signature keynote. And I like to help people structure signature talks or keynotes, like a little 30-minute, where you can expand it to 45 or 60, or you can bring it down to 15, where you can tweak it for this audience or tweak it for that audience, but the core, the foundation is there for you to have all the time in your back pocket. And once you say yes, and then they select you to be the speaker, all you got to do is take it out of your pocket and say, all right, for my audience, what would I tweak? But you've already done the work. Does that make sense to you? Right. And so, and then the second reason I brought up Lisa, are you ready for this? Is because she will be one of the panelists next, technically next month, but here we go. Are you ready? There it is. Bam. Authors Hour is happening June 25th in San Diego at the University Club. Lisa Reed is right there as one of our panelists. Front and center is Diane Forster. She's a powerhouse, not just an internationally acclaimed author, and she's got a huge career in media and television, but now she's helping, looking for 100 mission-driven, purpose-driven, mission-driven women who have the chops to have their own TV show, their own TV program, become a host of their own TV program, to create their own content, their own asset, which can be repurposed to grow their brands, grow their businesses, and have more impact and magnitude. And of course, yourself, Sue, you're going to be on the panel as well, representing Get a Klu in 52. And I'm volunteering my time to host it, to lead the panel discussion, to bring out all 3 of your brands and stories along the process of being an author. But then people that are in attendance, maybe you have a book inside of you and you don't know how to get it out. Maybe you don't know whether to go self-published or try to get a publishing deal. Maybe you've got the book, it's published already, but you're sitting on it. You're not marketing it, and you're not incorporating it into your business. If you have questions about becoming an author, publishing your book, marketing your book, selling your book, incorporating your book into your life, leveraging your book for it, we want to have that conversation with you. And I've put together a powerhouse panel of empowered women. June 25th. And Sue, this is really because you're coming to town. You said, Jeff, I'm coming to town. Can we do an event? Well, this is the event. You asked, you asked, and you shall receive.
Very excited.
Yeah, next week we're going to give everybody a link to register. It's at the University Club, so members of the University Club will be able to join us for $10, and non-members can join us for $20. That will come with light bites and a drink ticket and all of the fun that I just previewed from a content perspective. So that's what's happening. We'll give a link to register next week. I didn't prepare that much for that today. See, I'm imperfect. I don't have a link. Oh, well. Right? Anyway, so let's get back into that's my 2-part plug for Lisa Reed. I think the world of her. I can't wait to see her in person, and that's going to be happening on June 25th in San Diego. Authors Hour with Jeff Klubeck, Sue Mathieson, Lisa Reed, Diane Forster. But for now, let's sprint to the finish line. One more round of last call. Sue, what do you got?
Yeah, nothing more from me for today. It's
okay.
Just encourage people to get right past that fear or perceived fear.
Either past the fear or into the willingness to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Right. I always say, by the way, that vulnerable is not the same thing as threatened. Does that make sense? Right? It's not the same thing. Even if we make mistakes, that doesn't mean we're in danger. Right.
So true.
So let me remind everybody that a freebie is waiting for you. You email us with the subject line, Be Fearless, and we'll reply with a free copy of 8 Steps to Fearless Public Speaking. Those are the next 8 tips in our weekly tip reading. But if you want all of them in one document right away so that you can start preparing to join us live in studio, get into the conversation, maybe get some group coaching going live, we want to do all of that. We want these sessions to be dynamic after we read our tip word for word. And Sue and I were carrying the load, right, with our dynamic conversations, but everybody's invited to join the party. And having said that, I don't have anything else for today if you don't, Sue?
No, I have nothing else today.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us for another installment of Get a Clue in 52, the speaker edition. And we look forward to next week where we start a run of 8 consecutive tips that will make you fearless on preparing to speak in public, which will certainly create a fearlessness about being on stage, advancing your career, getting your message out, and helping the world who's waiting to hear your message. Sue, thank you as always very much for being with me every week and all of the incredible contributions you've made through your voice, through your questions, through your curiosity, through your commitment to learning, through your desire to grow. It's just wonderful to be with you as co-authors on this journey, and I can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great rest of the day.
All right. You too. Take care, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye.